Hello and happy, beautiful day to you. On today's episode, I want to talk about the importance of finding your purpose, but in a different way than you may have heard. And part of the thing is that I see so often people will feel like there's this purpose that they're supposed to be doing, and it's not good enough, or they're not good enough because their purpose isn't big or this or that. But there's a hidden key to all of this that I want to unpack, because so often I see something, unfortunately, where I'll see people who ultimately are feeling unimportant or not good enough because they feel like their quote unquote purpose isn't changing the world, or they're not living their purpose. So they feel like they're unimportant or not good enough or missing what they're supposed to be missing. And so I want to unpack this in a very simple way. So often when somebody is doing something in life and it feels important, then they can feel like their purpose is being met. They go, oh, well, this is important. And so in some ways, when people say something like, well, I'm not fulfilling my purpose, they also would simultaneously say underneath, they feel like what they're doing isn't so important. Now, ultimately, where you want to start working with this, and I'm going to unpack this in layers, if you will, because it's a little bit tricky, but there's an important nuance underneath, because ultimately where we're going is that you feeling important in your life helps open up everything. And this is what I mean, is that, if people are in a place where they feel like, oh, I'm unimportant, I'm not that good, I'm inferior, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, that energy shows up all around them. And I've seen people who have been sick or injured or stuck in relationships, not feeling respected, whatever it is, because they feel this feeling of not good enough. And so it's like they got into spirituality and self-help and they felt like less important and less good or whatnot. And so instead, I want to invite you to think about it in a different way. And it's this. There are different times in our lives where we have different purposes, if you will. And for example, in my own life, there was a point in time when my purpose was to just heal myself. That was my purpose. Now, there was a point in time when I worked in technology. My purpose was to help people and businesses connect around the world. So I did, network engineering operations. I did that. And it felt like, okay, connecting people around the world. So there was a purpose to it. And of course, when I was a child, my purpose was to create love, to have fun, to be and do and grow. And so purpose was different at different times. Now, this is what happens, is that in each of these purposes, which are separate from one another, I showed up at 100% of my purpose. And I felt important. Like when I worked in technology, it was my purpose and I felt important at it. And during my injury, I didn't always show up perfect. But when I was starting to figure it out, there was a determination. There was okay, I got to figure this out. It felt important to figure out, right? And so from that, of course, patterns breed more of the same. So importance breeds more importance, so we can continue to expand and grow. Now, sometimes I'll see people who, let's say somebody works in fashion. And then they say, oh, what I do is so unimportant. And I say, well, wait a second here. There are many people, when they put on clothes, they can feel really good. It helps how you feel. It can help lift their energy. And then when they see it in that way, they say, you know what? It does. It makes people feel good about themselves. And that is true. I mean, we as human beings are required to wear clothes. If we don't, there's a problem. So we need to wear clothes. And if we have clothes that we feel good in, or we have clothes that we don't feel good in, that makes a difference in our energy. And so I've worked with people in fashion who said, like, they felt like they weren't doing enough to change the planet. And they go, wait a second. They're working in fashion. They go, gosh, I'm lifting a lot of people's energy through fashion. And so there's that, when they're doing it in the right way. Or even somebody in real estate. When you stop and think about it for a moment, what is somebody in real estate doing? They're literally helping people's dreams come true. I mean, somebody's dream to own a new house or to own their next house or whatever it is, but that's so important. Now notice, maybe that's not going to be their quote unquote purpose for life. And the reality of it is we all have multiple purposes, but the key underneath it is feeling important. And that's what it really stems down to. So, when I work with somebody and they're feeling unimportant and unacknowledged, and they're feeling unacknowledged. So they're not like, they'll feel like this feeling of not important, not acknowledged. And it's like, well, wait a second here. You are sending that energy out that you're unimportant. So of course you're going to not feel acknowledged, because that's the energy you're putting out. And so when I say, okay, look, start feeling important about what you do, start feeling good about what you do, it's like they get that fulfillment from what they're doing. And it may not be their entire thing that they do forever, but my point is, from that energy of feeling important, of feeling good, comes that feeling in life, that feeling of love, the feeling of respect, the feeling of self-respect and self-connection. And it's not about all doing, because again, during my injury, I was healing myself, and that felt important as I was figuring it out and all of that. But different phases, we can be in different places, and there can be people who are literally not sick and not injured and not necessarily doing something, but maybe working on self. Or so I would say, again, maybe the purpose is to just enjoy life at a time. Or maybe the purpose is towards something that is you're passionate about. Whatever it is, the key under it all is if it feels important to you. Because I can tell you, I have worked with women before who felt so important to their grandchildren. They felt like, this is my purpose, and I love it, and it's great. And they feel so important, and they feel good about it. And I've worked with other people who felt like, okay, well, I've got these kids, and it's an obligation, and it's so draining. Or even all of the time, some people in technology. I mentioned I used to feel like in technology, when I worked in that I felt like I was doing something important. I was helping people. I showed up 100%. Now, of course, there's always going to be people. I worked for a large company. There's always going to be people who maybe show up and they feel like, it's another day at work. Oh, I work at this stupid company, or whatever it is, right? So the difference between feeling an obligation or feeling a purpose or feeling good is when you feel like what you're doing is important, and it's not all about what you're doing. Because again, two people could work in technology, and one people can think this is incredibly unimportant, and another person can feel like, I'm helping people to communicate around the world, and they feel important, and it shows up in a different way, and it shows up in their lives in a different way. And so that's the insight I want to invite you to look at for multiple reasons. One, because all of the time you hear people say, what is my purpose? What am I purpose? And when they feel like they don't know, suddenly it's like they got a demotion in life. Like all of a sudden there is this spiritual pressure to have some type of ginormous purpose that is like, it's like, well, wait a second here. Like, and but what I would say is, it's then suddenly to go from feeling inferior to feeling like there's this ginormous, like huge purpose, there's a gap. Said another way, what I'm saying is that as you fulfill and you feel important and you feel purposeful now, it continue to grow and evolve and spread and become and evolve into more and more things. I could tell you right now that what I do today, if I didn't show up 100% when I worked in network engineering and operations, I don't think I could do what I do today, because so much of it, understanding, like, when I worked in technology, it was understanding networks. And now I'm troubleshooting, so to speak, networks, but just the network of the body versus technology network. And so the fact that I showed up at 120% then, it helped me so much to figure out and understand how to heal myself. It was huge. So that, or even, in healing myself, I really had to get myself to show up through the pain and through the everything, the exhaustion and the mess. I had to show up 100%, but I did. And then it led to the next level and led to the next level. And so it just comes down to the awareness that as you feel important, as you show up 100% to life, that's what makes it flourish. Now, part of the reason I say that is because sometimes people do this. They go, okay, well, I don't really like this job that much, or I don't like what I'm doing that much. And what do? They tend to show up less and less and less and less. And the less they show up to life, the less they get out of life. And so that's that dynamic, is that they show up less and less because they go, oh, the job, okay, I'm going to show up. Oh, the this, oh, the whatever it is, the relationship, whatever it is, that they show up less and less and less to life. And then the ability to grow and expand diminishes more and more and more. And so that's the insight that I want to share, just because there's so many different dynamics here, but that feeling, so often I'll see people who, again, they go, oh, what's my purpose? And suddenly they feel insignificant or unimportant. But if everybody felt important in anything that they're doing, even a 6-year-old feels important, a 10-year-old, you want to make them feel important. And so feeling important at any age, in any place, but feeling that sense can help you flourish and grow and find the next level of what feels important to you. But if you feel unimportant, not good enough, then that too just continues to expand. So just food for thought, because I see so often people are struggling with this very topic. And so I wanted to bring that up today. So that's today's quick IQ episode. And by the way, just a quick note, if you ask me, do I see this affect people's health and life and ability to heal? Yes, all of the time, because people will feel like they have to, they're not good enough. Like, what are they going to do? Like they first, to be able to heal, they need to, of course, change the world or be good enough to change the world or whatever it is, or they're unimportant. And then so they're feeling unimportant in the relationship. So then there's not the love and the connection. Like it just spirals. And so there's just so many different ways that it can affect a person's life. So that's the insight. And by the way, if you are somebody who's wanting a deeper understanding of how healing works, check out my free training. It'll help you to understand what you need to do or what you want to do to create a real change in your own life. And so that's the insight that I want to share today. And as always, please do take just a quick moment to hit the share button on this episode. Share it with somebody you love, somebody you care about, or somebody you don't even know, because the more that every single person feels loved and loving and happy and healthy, the better this world is for all of us. And so please do hit the share button, and please do have an incredible rest of your day. I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. We'll see you there.